everybody, welcome back again to Ken Tamplin Vocal Academy, where the proof is in the singing. I'm continuing my series on how to sing like. Next up is metal madman Ozzy Osbourne. But before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind, please like and subscribe to my channel. That would be really cool. Don't forget to ring the bell so I can keep new cool videos coming your way. And I have a singing course. It is called How to Sing Better Than Anyone Else. Seriously, you can find it right here at kentamplinvocalacademy.com, where I also have an incredible singers forums with like 20,000 people in there, all discussing and negotiating how to get great at singing. And it starts at the basic beginning levels all the way to the most advanced level. So it's free. I highly recommend that you check it out. It's at kentamplinvocalacademy.com. Now, Ozzy, let's get to Ozzy. Ozzy's an interesting character because he's been around a long time. I mean, early Black Sabbath, all the way through the Ozzy years, and then Ozfest and beyond. And then, of course, the TV show The Osbournes, and then more Ozfest and beyond, right? And I got a chance to briefly meet him backstage at a Monsters of Rock festival many, many years ago. I want to say it was like 84, 85, something like that. And he... I think it was pretty under the influence. Now, some people are saying that he'd stopped doing drugs. I mean, maybe he did, I don't know, but he mumbled a lot and he wasn't that coherent. But if you heard a lot of, maybe interviews with Ozzy too, depending on his state of mind at the time, it's kind of his thing, But what I will say is it kind of worked to his advantage for singing. Let me explain. I talk a lot about open throat technique, and I first talk a lot about the opening up with that big ah vowel sound. Well, Ozzy doesn't do that. Ozzy has much more of a, like I said, a real frontal mask kind of sound. Not so much nasality as it is just mask, though it is somewhat nasally. But and I'm going to show you. I did Crazy Train, so we're going to go through, my rendition of that to show you how I did, and I'll post that in the description so you check out the whole song in its entirety. But I'm going to sing a little bit of Ken Tamplin and a little bit of Ozzy because I don't favor that sound, like I've told you guys a lot of times. However, if I didn't do it, it's kind of like, doing Axl Rose or Klaus Meine or somebody, where you don't do nasality and it just doesn't sound like them at all. So I kind of split the difference when I did this. But so let's just get started, and we'll go. Oh, what is I going to say about? So Ozzy doesn't sing heavy at all. He's not a heavy singer. So I'm going to point that out along the way. And he slurs his words. That's what I was going to reference when I said, he slurs when he talks. And that's what kind of helps him a little bit. He slurs when he sings so that he doesn't over accentuate the vocal tracks. Again, crazy. You can not really make out a lot of the words. In fact, a lot of people, when they've heard my version of this, they said, oh, is that what they say in that song? Right? So anyway, let's go on. We'll check it out. Here we go. Thank you to Gary Shutt for making this track for me. Crazy! That's how it goes. Millions of people live as foes. Maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget about hate. Okay, now, let's do it together. So you guys got to get your diaphragm together because he does use a lot of support in his sound. Believe it or not, he does support his sound. So he goes, I'm crazy. Just do it with me real small. Don't go crazy, but that's how it goes. He's not big and metal and metallic on theatrical in the sound. He's real small. So crazy. Just do it with me. Crazy, but that's how it goes. And don't move the mouth around that much. Crazy. But that's how it goes, right? Millions of people, it's small, living as foes, right? Again, so he's real small. Now, his range, surprisingly, the Ozzy stuff is not that easy to do. He's got a lot of decent range in his upper mid voice. So one of the reasons, too, for that, though, again, is he's not singing that heavy. And he uses some head voice stuff, but he's always kind of in that, just real small, very, very compressed sound up in his head as he moves along. So let's continue. Here we go. Metal wounds, not healing. Now, I'm taking more of a manly healing, like a Dio, Coverdale approach of it. He goes, healing. He's real small. Healing. Real, yeah, in the sound. So he compresses in his throat and you can really hear it. Now, for me, it's a bit of a dangerous sound because I want to get open on the sound and make it big. And there's a tendency to get really tight and tense in the throat if you do it that way. So healing. I'd rather have a bigger sound on it myself. So I do that here, and people say, that doesn't sound like Ozzy. I know, it sounds like Ken. kind of singing like Ozzy, but singing like Ken, right? So anyway, let's continue. Let's go, let's go. Listen to preachers, listen to fools. Listen to preachers. I'm way up in here. Listen to fools. I'm real high. I didn't go, listen to preachers, right? So on the verses, I kind of stayed true to Ozzy because I felt like if I oversang the verses, it would just sound like Ray Gillen or Coverdale or Paul Rogers or, or even Dio in some cases, some ways I hold notes. And so just to metalicize the song a little too much. By the way, kudos to Ozzy too, because he always had phenomenal players in his band, always. From you name it, Zach Wilde, Brad Gillis from Night Ranger. I just go on and on and on. Jakey Lee, like tons and tons of great. I think it was Jakey Lee was in the band, but tons of great guys players that was in his band, particularly guitar players. So of course Randy Rhoads, in this tune right here. But here we go. Watch out the dropouts who make their own roads. Now he does have when he goes, watch out the dropouts and make their own roads. He rolls, right? So he uses some sexy vowels in his sounds. It's not rolls. He could have done it that way. That would be kind of more of like a Vince Neil approach. But anyways, rolls. He does kind of play with the vowels a bit, and make it a little more entertaining vocally, which is really cool. I appreciate that. Perfect condition to rule and control. The media sells it, you live the role. Mental wounds still screaming, driving me insane. Coverdale. Going off the rails on a crazy train. Going off the rails on a crazy train. I know that things are going wrong for me. Now, the way I approached that was more like Paul Rogers. I know that things are going wrong for me. Right, I got a much more soul in it. He's a lot more straight on it. I know that things are going wrong for me. Right, so he is a little stiff on some of it. I was gonna use the word sterile, but that's a bad word. He's a little straight on it, a lot of times. So I'm much more of a soul singer guy, so I probably should have gotten somebody maybe that sang straighter than me to sing on something like this. But I like the song so much and I wanted just to do it for fun. And I wanted to use it as a vocal demonstration rather than just using Ozzy singing it. Because like I said, a lot of times in my videos, that demonstration isn't a way to teach, it's the only way to teach. So I've got to show you that I can do it myself first in order to be able to prove to you I can show you how to do it, right? So anyway, with that said, now if you take songs like Iron Man or you just take anything or what was the duet he did with Lita Ford, but just whatever, like any of the songs that you see, he's got some really high range stuff. And the other thing I want to give kudos to him for is really melodic songs. Like, I don't want to say I'm surprised because I'm not surprised, but it's unusual to have someone that's on the darker Black Sabbath side of metal. And maybe, Black Sabbath could even almost be considered kind of like original goth metal, really. Now, not necessarily in the sound, but in sort of instigating a lot of kind of what happened, from then on. But to have, something that major key melodic, most of that stuff is really dark and minor key, and yet Ozzy's been able to come up with some very haunting melodies, melodies, and that's been incredible. Now, I think Bob Daly wrote the lyrics on this, so I don't think Ozzy wrote the lyric on that, but Ozzy also has some really cool lyrics in a lot of his songs. It's pretty well thought out. So anyway, gang, if you like what you heard, I'm doing a lot of this by request, so please make your request known, put it in the description, and check out my next video.